It's time for QB1 with Crissy Froyd, and the quarterback du jour is Dak Prescott. Crissy, a lot of people hoping for more from the Cowboys this past season. They're one of those teams that has a tradition rich in dynasties, but people are kind of waiting for them to be there at the end. What do you make of Dak's performance last season, and what was missing moving forward?
Well, I think just given the circumstances, the injury that he was coming off of, that they couldn't have asked him to bounce back much better. And I mean, toward the beginning of that season, he was in the early MVP race. There were a lot of people that really expected him to be there by season's end. And then somewhere in there, he did hit a little bit of a slump. I personally attribute that a little bit to an injury issue that he was dealing with during the season. So I think that if he can stay healthy, that's going to be a big one. And then if he can really just move this team through the season and strongly through the postseason, is going to be a big deal for him. But he was runner-up comeback player of the year last season, and that's certainly not for no reason. So I think that everyone's kind of waiting for the big pop for the Cowboys for Dak Prescott. But overall, I don't really think there's a lot to be mad at about last year's performance.
With how differently this team's constructed heading into this season, how will that ultimately affect his performance?
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors. I mean, this team doesn't quite look like it did on paper last season. Amari Cooper, probably the biggest offseason loss for them. So we're going to have to see how much Michael Gallup steps up. And I mean, just a lot of these new acquisitions through the draft and then some of the guys in free agency, because the Cowboys did lose some. So I think that Dak Prescott is very confident in this team moving forward. He's told the media already, we absolutely did not take a step back. So we're going to have to see just how much that holds true moving forward. But I think that the guys in the locker room have his support. He's already kind of making some connections with CeeDee Lamb. I think he asked for his locker to move closer to his. So he's definitely putting in the work as far as bond building goes. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
What should fans ultimately expect from Dak Prescott this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think just elevation. He's not coming off of an injury anymore. So I think as long as he's able to stay healthy, that this is going to be a big kind of prove it year for him. But I do think that it's going to be interesting just to see how with those new pieces, how he's able to adapt to that. How much does that end up affecting him in the end? But I think that he can take a step forward. And I think a lot of people are looking for him to take a step forward and guide this team to something bigger this year.
And with that in mind, is this a critical year for him in terms of performance?
I think to a certain extent. I mean, I think that whenever we look at the Dallas Cowboys next year, regardless of what happens, Dak Prescott is still going to be the starting quarterback there. And you can't necessarily say that about quarterbacks from other NFL teams. So, I mean, I think that he's got a solid hold on the job. Just like I said, I think that there's kind of this desire, not just for him, but for the Cowboys as a whole to take a step forward. I think that we're in kind of this waiting period that's gone on for a little while. But I also think that whenever we look at Dak Prescott and how much of a role he plays for this team, it would be interesting to see him removed from the team for a whole year just to see how much they would take a step back, just to kind of show people how important this quarterback is. And I think that in the games that he was absent, and that became very apparent.